Rocky knew that the McMurray's household wasn't his home. He only stayed there because his mother was battling against the Red Death and lost. Rocky's father had went away elsewhere to grieve for the death of his wife, and knew that Nina could take better care of Rocky than he ever could. Rocky felt that he had been abandoned, though he had to admit that his new home was more welcoming than he had imagined. He had someone to play with, even though his little cousin wasn't able to speak yet. As time went on, he had nearly forgotten what it was like to live with his parents. Freckle rarely spoke, but he had always seen him as the little brother he never had. There were times that they fought like brothers would normally do when they have disagreements, but he never would have imagined how aggressive he would become. Rocky usually underestimated Freckle's outbursts, and they would playfully slap each other. But during one of Rocky's experiments, he had pressured Freckle to try something he didn't want to do.
It was a test of valor,
Rocky had stated, but in Freckle's opinion it was idiotic. What was the point in jumping off the roof? It was 40 feet high. They were small and they could get injured easily, but in Rocky's opinion, it was to face their fears and conquer them. Despite that, Freckle had leaped across rooftops and branches before. It was to avoid Rocky's harebrained experiments. He had no need to go through with it. Freckle had enough of playing games with Rocky. Rocky had playfully nudged him, but it made Freckle snap, and he pushed Rocky off the roof. Rocky let out a scream before hitting the pavement, breaking his arm and hip with a loud crunch. He hadn't registered the pain until Aunt Nina had found him in the state he was in, and they had to take him to the hospital. Rocky's injuries would heal in no time, and he learned something from all this: to not push Freckle over the edge. He had learned that it wasn't Freckle's fault, it was an accident. Freckle had apologized for what happened, and with the religious guilt that he had been indoctrinated in, it made perfect sense to why he lashed out like that. Aunt Nina naturally admonished them with religious fervor and strict discipline. Carol had warned her to not be too harsh on them. When Carol lived, he was a simple man with simple ideals, a lover of baseball, fishing, and firearms, an old-fashioned family man who shared some of his favorite pastimes with the boys whenever he could, much to his wife's dismay. After he passed away, the family began to fall apart. The straw that broke the camel's back. It was when Freckle had tried to practice shooting with his father's shotgun when he was 12. Carol had taught them in secret about how to use a firearm for self-defense. Rocky had no idea where Freckle was, so he looked for him. Freckle wasn't in his bedroom, nor in the garage, nor at the garden, so Rocky climbed a tree to call his cousin. No response. Rocky was perched in one of the tree branches, and he saw a tail sway through a small window from the shed, and Rocky had climbed down the tree to surprise him. Freckle had opened the cartridge and picked out one of the bullets. Eyeing the blunt projectile, he was astonished with how a small thing like a bullet could cause so much damage. One bullet had gunpowder and phosphorus inside of it. How do gunsmiths encase it in such a tiny thing without it blowing up? It could be shot in a large distance, and it could kill a beast from the inside out like poison. He wanted to test it for himself. He followed the procedure in how to load a gun like his father taught him and aimed at the small window on the shed. He eyed two brown pigeons perched on the tree, and Freckle recalled that saying, "Kill two birds with one stone," only this time it would be with a bullet. Rocky opened the door wide open, letting the sunlight creep into the shed and hurt Freckle's eyesight.
There you are.
Freckle shielded his eyes with one arm while Rocky stepped closer, his slender frame a silhouette.
I've been looking for you. Aunt Nina is making lunch.
Rocky's thick eyebrows raised in curiosity as he found the shotgun Freckle was holding.
What's with the gun? Are you planning to hunt your own food this time?
Freckle had no idea what to say. If Rocky was able to find him so quickly, he didn't want to imagine what his mother would do if she caught him red-handed with his father's rifle. No, Freckle mumbled, unsure of what to do.
How about you save that for later? We don't want your mom to catch us doing something shady, am I right?
Rocky's suggestion was discarded when Freckle pointed the firearm at Rocky. No. Freckle responded with certainty this time. I don't want to. Rocky gave a nervous smile as a bead of sweat rolled down from the back of his forehead. I want to shoot.
Calvin roared. Lunch is ready.
Aunt Nina called. Freckles' mouth was agape before putting the gun away, as if by some miracle, that sadistic side of him had been tucked away while Rocky stepped out of the shed, giving room for Freckle to run to the door. Rocky was certainly convinced that if it wasn't for Aunt Nina's intervention, Freckle would have killed him on the spot. Rocky's azure orbs lingered at the sight of the weapon before reaching the doorknob and closed the shed and locked it.